Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Two Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, as I have these wires in front of me, which have just popped out in the most unopportunistic time, and he's really interrupting me. Okay, we fixed that. Lovely. You can hear some ruckus in the background. And I also realised that I may have been quiet last episode, so I'm actually going to increase the volume of the mic as I currently speak, and hopefully that changes it and makes it better across the board. I feel like it should. I feel like I should be at a pretty good volume now. If I'm not, I'll see it in post and I'll fix it and it'll be fine. But yes, hello everyone. Hope everyone is well. A minute of ramble. Hope everyone is well. I hope everyone has enjoyed their week. I hope everyone has had a fantastic week of watching football or just generally with work, uni, life. Stressful at times, I get it, I know. So I hope everyone is well. I hope if this is your first episode, I hope enjoy. If this is your first episode, hello. I speak about football for 45 minutes a week. If you like to hear someone speak about football for 45 minutes a week, this might be the podcast for you. If you don't, then I don't know why you clicked on the video. But if this is your 100th to 3rd, 50th, 75th, welcome back. I hope you're well. I am well. I'm ticking along in this world. Just getting along, ticking along with uni, ticking along with work, ticking along with this. Can't really complain. Went to the victory game on Sunday, which was awesome. Happy Mother's Day as well to all the mothers, to any mothers who are potentially watching or listening to this. Yeah, that was a good Mother's Day bash. Not the biggest fan of the round ball, so it didn't take her long. Didn't want to subject her to that, especially considering the potential of what could have happened in that game. But went to the victory game nonetheless. It was very enjoyable. Sunday afternoon, weather was pristine. The atmosphere around the ground was pretty good. Attendance probably slightly lower than what I would have liked. I'll speak about the game fully later on, but I just want to speak about like the vibes. Vibes are pretty good. 16,500 I think it was, which was disappointing, if I can say so myself. But I guess you can kind of take the Mother's Day aspect of it. Sunday, 4 o'clock, not really the best time slot. If that was played the previous, like the night before, the Saturday night before, they would have got 20, 25 comfortably, I feel. Abbey Park's really good for Saturday night games because it's right on Swan Street. It's right in the middle of everything. It's like Swan Street's right there. The city's very, very close. I guess Etihad as well is to a similar extent, like it's in the CBD, right? But regardless, I think it was a slightly disappointing crowd, but apart from that, good vibes, good weekend. Watched the AFL on Thursday. My team won, which was awesome. Obviously the Prem was floating around as well as we get into the crunch time of that, which was good fun to enjoy. Watched the City Fulham game pretty much in full. Watched a bit of the Chelsea game in the mini match because it was at 2:30 and I had an early start on Sunday, so couldn't do that. Watched a couple of the midnight games, as in like caught a couple of moments from those. Caught a couple of the moments from the Arsenal United game as well, which I want to speak about United a little bit more in depth later on as part of the run sheet. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Uni ends in like 4 weeks for the semester, which is insane as well, just quietly. It feels like this year has gone by in a flash, and it has, and time is scaring me. But regardless, before we touch on the run sheet, kit check or fit check? Kit check. I think I've said fit check, but really it's kit check. It's one of my favourite tops that I own. It's one of the more favourite tops I own. It is a 1990 England away kit or third kit, something like that. 98 maybe. It might have been. I don't think this was Italia 90, France 98. I don't know. The 94 World Cup was in. Where was the 1994 World Cup? How did I know this? Because it was Italia 90, France 98, Korea Japan 02. 86 was Mexico 86. Well, was it USA, obviously. USA 94. USA 94. Yeah. I don't know what it was like around about that time, early 90s. I don't think it was as far out as 98, but I don't think it was the Mexico one. So I think it was either 90. I think it was either Tally 90 or USA 94. The third or away kit. I don't know. This is one of the very first kind of retro kits I bought. With the blue and white kind of detailing. It's very 90s. Like, just looking at it, it's very 90s. The diamonds, the detailing, the textures, the lines, the colouring, the collar, the kind of this on the sleeve as well. It just is unnecessary and weird, but it looks great. Yeah, one of the more favourite kits I own. Do you feel like you could wear this kit at like a rave? Not that I frequent raves, and festivals and stuff. But if I was to ever dabble in that area, this is something that you could wear. And I think it fits the decor and the dress code. But yeah, no, one of my all time favorite kits. This is like peak. This is like retro, definitely like 90s. I've got a lot of kits from the 90s. A lot of kits from the 90s. I was born in the wrong era. I think I've said that so many times before in this podcast. I was born in the wrong era. If I was born in the 90s, I would be the biggest football nuff. Even more so than I am now, which is pretty funny. But regardless, I'm blabbling on as always. What are we going to speak about today? Actually, before we start, make sure you subscribe. Do all the good stuff. Relevant links in the description of YouTube. Blah blah blah. Socials. Follow me. Follow all the pod stuff. Whatever. We'll preview the final day, and just quickly go through all of that stuff, assuming the results in the midweek games that go as they go and as they should go, assuming there's no upsets, which will be interesting. I want to touch on United. They should probably take up a little bit of a bigger portion in this podcast because I just want to speak about them. Speak about the European games, subsequently the finals. We'll speak about Leverkusen as well very briefly, and then we'll move to Australian football. So yes, let's kick things off. We're talking about final day stuff. So there is 4 games that are happening in midweek that I don't necessarily think have big ramifications. So it's Villa versus Liverpool. Liverpool will finish third. That's locked in, confirmed. Villa are 4 points clear of Tottenham in 4th with 2 games to go, but Tottenham played Manchester City, and Tottenham will probably want to lose that, and I think will lose that. So I don't think that game as well makes a big difference. Brighton versus Chelsea. Chelsea are on equal points with Newcastle. Brighton probably can't. Well, that result means they might be able to jump West Ham on the final day, but then again, who really cares about finishing 9th or 10th? It's not European football at all. United versus Newcastle as well is another game that has kind of ramifications for that Conference League, Europa League kind of area. But on the whole, they don't really have much impact. Let's just go on the assumption that the Villa Liverpool game won't mean a thing. Tottenham lose, City go top with a game to go. Chelsea draw to Brighton and United draw to Newcastle, and everything just stays the same. Let's go with that. Why not? Final day. Arsenal. I'm going to go through these games as they appear on FOTMob, which is alphabetical order of the home teams. Arsenal versus Everton. Obviously Everton safe, well and truly, nothing to really play for. Arsenal have the will to play for, and this game is very, very kind of intrinsically linked with a game that is happening a couple 100 miles south, of a couple 100 miles north, I should say, of London, in Manchester at Etihad. Manchester City versus West Ham. Those 2 games, West Ham have nothing really to play for. David Moyes will leave, so I guess there's maybe a farewell aspect to that. Everton, once again, nothing to play for. They're safe. There's no real momentous occasion for them to play for either, both away from home. So you expect Arsenal and City to be the main storylines, to be the main teams in focus in those 2 games. You would assume, and you would sit here and bet, if you were a betting person, that Manchester City do what's needed to be done against Tottenham midweek, and then bring West Ham to the Etihad and dispatch of them quite comfortably. That is what you would assume. However, football does not do with your assumptions. Football takes your assumptions and throws them swiftly in the bin and gives you the middle finger and tells you to take what you get. And what you may get may be very similar, if not the same, as the assumptions, or it may be something vastly different. We don't know. What we do know is that there will be drama because it's football, it's the Premier League. It exudes drama just by virtue of the fact that it's the Premier League and it's football. Whether that drama occurs whether the majority of that drama occurs on a Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Australian time at White Hart Lane, whether or not that's the source of the drama, whether or not the source of the drama is at the Emirates or the Etihad, there will be drama. And the bookies, I'm not going to sit here and look at the odds, but you would assume that Arsenal win that game against Everton and Manchester City should win that game against West Ham and Tottenham. But I can't help, in my heart of hearts, I can't help but feel something is going to happen. Something dramatic, something chaotic, something is going to happen to alter and to change and to change and to blow up expectations and to really throw the cat amongst the pigeons. In me saying that kind of lends itself to thinking that something will happen midweek. I thought something was going to happen this morning, but Arsenal did the professional thing and went to Old Trafford and won without much fuss and just got the job done. So now the attention turns to White Hart Lane. Tottenham are in a position right now where they don't really have a whole lot to play for. They're very unlikely to finish in... It's very unlikely that they're going to finish in fourth. Aston Villa will need to lose... to Crystal Palace and Liverpool. To be fair, Palace are playing fantastic football in the latter part of the season as well, which is quite interesting. So Spurs, technically top four, still on the line, is still within arm's reach, and a win against Manchester City could drastically help that. However, I hesitate to... I don't hesitate to ask, but I'm very intrigued by the answer to the question of, would you rather finish fifth and Arsenal win the league? Or would you rather finish fourth and Arsenal win the league, or finish fifth and Arsenal finish second? I think I know the answer to that question. I think it's the latter. I think Tottenham fans would want to see, don't really care. But I think Tottenham fans don't want to see Arsenal win the league at all. So I think if that means them finishing fifth instead of fourth, that probably means a lot more to them. That, in saying that, they do have the luxury of knowing the result of the Aston Villa versus Liverpool game the night before. So if Aston Villa host Liverpool, win that game, they secure themselves top four, and all what Tottenham will be, Tottenham, barring a catastrophe and Newcastle winning both of their final two games, will finish fifth, and Tottenham would have to lose both of their next two games. So maybe it's in the best interest of Tottenham fans to watch that game at Villa Park and hope that Villa win, because then all the pressure is off them to beat City or to get a point off City for them to finish top four, because they know that they can't. So that means they can lose the game and allow City to win the league over Arsenal. It's a very, very confusing situation, which lends itself very, very funny, because I saw this TikTok where Tottenham fans were Manchester United fans. Tottenham fans were Manchester United fans last night. They will become Manchester City fans against Tottenham. They'll become Manchester City fans for the next week, but Manchester City play Tottenham. But inherently, Tottenham will be annoyed at Manchester United because they didn't win, but they were also supporting Manchester United like 12 hours ago. It's a very confusing situation. And Arsenal fans just have to cling on and hope that it's either West Ham or Tottenham. Whereas City, just win. The equation is simple for Manchester City. Just win. And they've done that a lot over the last 5 years. They've won a lot of games. And what's two more games to add to their repertoire, or to their resume, I should say. It's well within their repertoire. And I think, on the balance of probabilities, Manchester City, that makes no sense. I think Manchester City should dispatch and should do it in a professional manner. But I can't help but think that there's drama still to unfold. And I can't help but think there is something left. There is something left. So there is one more twist. There is one more twist in the tale. Whether that's an Arsenal slip up, whether that's a Manchester City slip up midweek, but then they capitalise during the week or at the weekend, whether or not City lose and then they win, but then Arsenal lose. Who knows what's going to happen? If I had to put a gun to my head, I think City are going to do it. But there's about 35% of me that thinks an Arsenal, or at least thinks something will happen that could have Arsenal win the league. Of that 35%, 4% of me has this vision of Tottenham kind of doing the most Tottenham thing of all time and winning the game, the one game of the season in which they don't want to win, they win that game and hand Arsenal the league. It would be quite Tottenham, wouldn't it? It would be quite Tottenham. We spoke about Ange last week and about how his season has gone perfectly fine, and there's been some injury issues, and they should rebound and do well next season. How ironic would it be that a really good win on paper at home to Manchester City, if they win that game on paper, that's great, but it's probably the last game that Tottenham want to win. Tottenham fans want to win. So it'll be interesting to watch that game and to see the reception. Will Tottenham fans cheer Manchester City goals? I wouldn't be surprised. The hatred's deep. The hatred is deep, especially considering the potential in which Aston Villa go to host Liverpool and win. Tottenham will finish 5th. That is what will happen, assuming that they don't cock up to Sheffield, to already relegated, arguably worst team in Premier League history, Sheffield United, on the final day, which once again would be incredibly Spursy. So you don't know. A lot of teams are intrinsically linked. A lot of teams are linked, and if only Liverpool had a better final month, if only Liverpool had just beaten West Ham, if only Liverpool had just beaten Everton and beaten West Ham, gotten 5 more points what they already are on, they would be, granted they still would actually be out of the title race. Actually, no, they wouldn't, because they'd be on, if they had 5 more points what they're currently on, they'd be on 83 with a game in hand on Arsenal. If they would have won that, they would have been level on points. So, and then that Everton portion of that Arsenal versus Everton game would have become a lot more important and would have become a 3-way title race that has implications for 5 different teams with 2 games to go. It would have been fascinating, but we aren't in that situation. It's been very much simplified and truncated down to something that is a lot more palatable and something that can at least be understood by the layman a lot more, put it that way, because it is a very complicated and kind of convoluted way of how do I describe this? Of understanding a bunch of football permutations. Regardless, I'm sitting here digressing as per. So gun to my head as I quickly fix something out with OBS because it's bugging out a little bit. Okay, we're fixing this. Is on the live. We are doing some technical difficulties. Okay, we're back. Apologies if we've lagged a little bit there. My OBS just was blowing up for a minute. I believe that Arsenal will win their game. However, I also believe that Manchester City will win both of their games. That is what my head says. My heart is telling me that Ange Postecoglou almost turns from hero to villain within a matter of moments and wins that game in midweek, and all of a sudden Tottenham fans hate him and Arsenal win the league and it becomes the biggest shitstorm ever. But I don't think that will happen, even though as much as I would like to see the chaos that ensues, and also as much as I would want to see Man City win the league over Arsenal, because I cannot stand Arsenal winning the league, as you could tell. For those who haven't know how much I support as these posters behind me can describe to you. So that is my title race kind of thing. If we go down to other games that are happening and just give like a brief preview of those. Brentford versus Newcastle. Brentford have had a slightly underwhelming year. People thought they would have been a lot better. Obviously, the Tony suspension didn't really help them. Newcastle been just dismantled and demolished by injuries to an extreme perspective. They're finishing in the top 6 still, probably, which is a great result for them. Brentford are safe, 16th. They probably will sell Tony. They'll probably get that 80 odd million back for him. They can rejuvenate to the squad, and they'll probably end up being pretty good next season as well. So, not all doom and gloom. Brighton versus United. Brighton have had a fine season, a little bit underwhelming. They're completely at parity when it comes to results. 12 wins, 12 draws, 12 losses, -4 goal difference. They've been fine. A little bit underwhelming. The De Zerbi game plan has slightly been figured out. They were a lot better under Potter, noticeably better under Potter, but I think, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do next season, because if it continues to fall off, the Zerbi stock will go down, and then we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. I'll speak about United briefly. Burnley and Forest, two very underwhelming teams. Forest stay up by the skin of their teeth, which is good for them. I like them being in the Premier League, so they stayed up. And they had a pretty good run of games not long ago, I think. Yeah, they drew to Luton, which was actually a pretty good result because they were in the box seat, so they needed to get a point from that game. They drew to Forest, they drew to Palace, which is actually a good result. They beat Fulham, and then they drew to Wolves as well. So they lost to Tottenham in between that. But that picking up points in 4 out of 5 games for a team for a team battling relegation, it's kept them up, which is good for them as well. But obviously that points deduction has played a factor into that. So that 4-game run where they were able to pick up some points was really valuable to them. But they're set up, which is good. And then who are they versing? They're versing Burnley, aren't they? They've just been bad. The company where I play football just hasn't transitioned into the Premier League. Their squad just not up to it. They probably win the league first time. They probably bounce back up. First time of asking, you'd assuming the squad sticks together and assuming company can still do something with that team. You would assume that they just bounce straight back up. Without really, without much trouble, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what that drop actually does to them. Chelsea versus Bournemouth. Chelsea have had a fucking shitstorm of the season. Poch in, out, started okay, then went to shit, then was like, oh, it's not bad, and then went to really shit, and then the last 4 games have been unbelievable. The start was actually like not the worst. We lost to Forest 1-0, which was pretty bad. Then we lost to Villa, and then we had that run where we won a couple of games in a row, drew to Arsenal, beat Tottenham 4-1, drew to City, and then we went shit, and then we went good, and then we went shit, and then we went good, and we went shit. So it's the inconsistency with the young team, first year coach. Hopefully next season with a proper striker, a couple of more defenders, and the midfield continuity. Reece James not having hamstrings made out of fucking cheese will be great. Fingers crossed. Bournemouth once again fine. I think a lot of people didn't have them finishing 11th, which is where they'll probably finish. Maybe not much higher, not much lower. They've had a good year. They definitely have a good year. Iraola has been a fantastic revelation for them. Coming in this season, and has performed very well for them. Since coming in at the start of last year. I say last year, in the start of this season. So there you go. There's that. The next game, Palace versus Villa. Spoke about Villa briefly. They've had a fantastic season under Emery. So well drilled, so well structured, just very, very solid. And Palace as well. Ever since they've got rid of Hodgson. Was it after the City game they got rid of him, or was it a little bit later after that? No, it was a little bit before that. But this Glazer guy has come in. His first game was against Burnley in Feb. He's been a revelation for them. They've won their last 4 games, I think it is. They've won 6 out of the last 7. They won 5 out of the last 6 games, I should say. Yeah, unbelievable, so good. We'll be interested to see what he could do with a full pre-season and with a. I think the board has come out and said that he's untouchable, that he will be the coach next season. So, it'll be interesting to see what he can do with the full pre-season with some finances in the books. Hopefully they kept a hold of Eze and Elise, and they can really springboard from there, because they started the season okay. They started the season pretty promising. Their team was looking good, but they just couldn't Roy just wasn't up to it, wasn't up to scratch. So, there's that. Liverpool versus Wolves. Liverpool slightly underwhelming season. Klopp's final year. We spoke about it at length, so I'm not going to go over it again. But yeah. What more can you say? What more can you say for that? We're interested to see what they do managerial wise. We're interested to see what they do player wise. Salah, Van Dijk, Nunez. The works will be very, very interesting. Wolves just trudging along. They just did what they had to do this season. They had that. Their last kind of 2 months has been average. They had a pretty good kind of middle portion of the year, which was able to like secure them that mid-table place. That mid-table place, which a lot of people kind of expected from them this season. Obviously, the whole situation with Gary O'Neill as well. So, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go next season. Because I think people don't really know what to expect from Wolves, especially ever since they had like a couple of seasons where they were really good under Nuno, then they fell off, then they were okay, then they fell off again. Now they're like settling into that mid-table role. Obviously Gary O'Neill coming in post what happened with him at Bournemouth, very interesting. So, there's that. Luton versus Fulham. Luton just. The squad. It's the squad. They fought hard. They battled hard all year. They were exciting. They were attacking at times. They had some great games, some great moments. But the squad just let them down. Barring an absolute miracle, barring them catching up 20-odd goal difference, they will go down by 3 points, which is unfortunate. Their fans showed their support for their coach, for their gaffer, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, it was just... They had a good period over Christmas and New Year where they lost only one game in 2 months, which was not bad, but just not good enough. Not good enough on a holistic perspective, but their squad probably didn't cater to that. And their coach, I think, is pretty good still. So I guess we'll have to see if they can bounce back up. I don't see all three teams coming straight back up as well. So it'll be interesting to see which one doesn't, because I feel like that team could be in a lot of strife. Especially with the teams coming up from the Championship, Ipswich, is it Ipswich and Leicester? I think automatically promoted, and then Leeds, West Brom, Southampton, Norwich. I think they're the 4 teams. All pretty solid teams. I'm pretty sure that's the Championship top 6. So it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think it'll be 3 up, 3 down, like it was this year. I don't think it'll be 3 up, 3 down like it was this year. I think there'll be a bit of a difference. Fulham as well have been completely fine. Like, not much to really say about Fulham. 14th, bog standard. City versus Everton. City versus West Ham. We spoke about that. Sheffield United versus Tottenham. We spoke about Tottenham last week. Sheffield United, very, very poor, very underwhelming so far. Very bad this season. I don't think many people expected a lot from them, but yeah, just never clicked. Never got going. Poor. Not good enough. What more can we say, really? So that's my review of the final day / review of the season for all the teams. I didn't speak about one team. I didn't speak about Manchester United because I want to speak about them a little bit more in depth. So let's do that. Let's speak about Manchester United, shall we? Because there's a lot of interesting things that are happening to Manchester United. They lost 1-0 this morning to Arsenal in a very uninspiring performance. A lineup that was good on paper in terms of the profile and the balance, but in terms of personnel, left a lot to be desired. You can't, as a Manchester United, be rocking up to a game with Casemiro and Johnny Evans as your centre-half pairing with Amrabat, Mainu and McTominay. I like Mainu, but he's a kid, right? You can't put that kind of onus on his shoulders. Garnacho, Diallo and Højlund. It'd be a great front three in about 4 or 5 years' time, but not in 2024, unfortunately. So, I know injuries don't help. Bruno finally missed a game with an injury. Say finally in terms of like, he's not a robot, like he does get injured, so like that's good to know. I'm not wishing for his injury, but look, they've lost 14 games this season. They were battered by Palace 4-0. Fourth they lost to Chelsea not long ago. A couple of disappointing results. Look, with Ten Hag, I backed him in. I thought he was going to be the guy for them. There's just a lot that needs fixing, and the longer the season has progressed, the more I think needs fixing. Tactically, I think they're very far off it. which is bizarre because that was one of Ten Hag's biggest strengths at Ajax. Is the patterns of play and the style of football was clear to see. I think a lot of people thought that he would struggle with handling the personnel at United, whereas in reality they don't have a philosophy, they don't have a clear style of play. There's a lot to be desired there. They're leaving a lot to be desired, and there's no when you sit down and watch a United game, like when I sit down and watch an Arsenal game, I think, okay, now I know exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna soak up they're gonna draw the press in. They're gonna play quickly through it. They're gonna use their wide players. They're gonna use their pace, and they're gonna go right. You're gonna see this player in this position, etc., etc. When I say City play, I see all right. This back four is gonna move into a 3. They're gonna play 4 just behind Haaland. That's exactly what they're gonna do. Wingers are gonna stay out wide to maintain the width. 2 players holding centrally. That's what they're gonna do. When I watch Tottenham, it's gonna be this uber octane, high press, high intensity football, playing forwards, etc. I want to say Villa, it's going to be structured, it's going to be rigid, but it's going to be effective, and it's going to be very efficient. That's the word, very efficient. When I sit down and watch a United game, I sit back and I go, okay, we could either get a team that sits back and counterattacks, we could either get a team that plays on balls, we can get a team that tries to play actual possession football. We don't know. Is that a personnel issue? Is that a tactic issue? I don't know. They've had a lot of injuries this season. But a lot of players in that team that played on the weekend, not good enough. Casemiro is past it. I think he's a fantastic player, has been for a long time. But I mean, where he's positioning for that goal was just abhorrent. Can't be doing that even if you're playing out of position, I should say. Wan-Bissaka I thought was fine. Dalot I thought was The front 3 were uninspiring, even though they didn't really have a whole bunch of service. McTominay is a player that they need to move on from a kind of culture perspective as well. McTominay is a player that is continuously associated with Manchester United being mediocre. They need to move on from him. Even if he adds a lot to the squad, they need to move on from him. They need to move on from these players who have symbolised the mediocrity at Manchester United for the last kind of decade, but in specific, like the last kind of half decade, right? They've got the FA Cup final against Manchester City. I don't see a world in which they win that. I think City would just be too strong and it would be men against boys type operation. I don't think Ten Hag is that tactically astute to get his team to set up tactically well enough for one game to beat Manchester City, and I also don't think he has the man management skills to achieve that same goal, just to a different medium, whatever. I just see a lot wrong right now with Manchester United, and I don't think sacking Ten Hag is the answer, because at what stage do you just have to back a guy in, and at what stage you just have to give him the tools? Because I don't think they've done this rebuild properly at all. Amrabat is an average signing. Casemiro average signing, as in the fact that they're still relying on Casemiro now means that he's become an average signing, because at the time, fine. For like a season and a half, for a season, great, but not 2 seasons into this kind of operation. It's not good enough, right? Like Johnny Evans, I get like their injury issues in defence have kind of forced him to be a crucial part of the team, but he should not be playing. Players like Wan-Bissaka, I think they need to move on from. Dalot, they either need to put full emphasis on him or get rid of him. It's one of the two. You can't have him floating in between. I think Højlund was a good sign. Is an okay signing, but once again, he needs to kick his ass into gear, otherwise it's going to become a flop. They need one world-class footballer in every position, probably. They need a world-class attacker, they need a world-class midfielder, and they need a world-class defender. You can't achieve that in one transfer window. I don't think you can. You can get good players. I don't think you can get world-class. Like, I'm talking top 7 in their position in the world. If you're Manchester United and you want to win leagues, you need to get a top 7, top 6 player in the world in that position. Someone like, if you're talking strikers, they don't need one. So, okay, let's talk wingers. If you're talking wingers, they need to go and get someone like... It won't happen, but someone like... I was going to say Vinny Jr., but he probably won't go. But I'm talking, you need to spend 130 million on a fucking baller. That's what they need to do. And midfielders as well, defenders the same. And I think Onana's fine. I don't think it really means a whole... I don't think he holds a lot of weight to what they're doing right now. But, there's the scenes, and I think the most depressing thing about it all is the scenes after the game of the rain in Old Trafford, the stadium being flooded, the 1-0 loss, another underwhelming season, another underwhelming league finish at the end of the season. Yes, they might win a trophy with the FA Cup, but are they going to win that trophy? Probably not. No one cares about the Carabao Cup. So they've won two of those, and no one cares. Like the Ten Hag era is slowly becoming, the novelty's wearing off, and it's slowly becoming a nightmare. And they need someone above him that is a football genius to sort the whole shit out, because I don't even think Ten Hag, with how good of a manager he has proven to be in the past, he can fix the shambolic nature that is going on at Manchester United, because it's not just an on the pitch issue, it's an off the pitch issue as well that they haven't fixed, and it's seeping into Ten Hag now. You've seen they've gotten progressively worse. That has to do with the off-field issues taking over and seeping into the on-field. That's how they're getting worse over time. So I think it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, but I don't know. To put it bluntly, I don't know. Because he's going into his third year. Third year? Yeah, third year. So, he needs to, come on. We're getting to this point now where it's like, all right, shit needs to start happening. Because if shit doesn't start happening, then we get to a point now where it's Moyes, Van Gaal, Jose, Ole, Ten Hag, 5 managers. Probably missing one in between there. 5 managers that all don't work. There's a common denominator here, man. It's a common denominator. Anyways, I'm tangenting. Let's move on. I'm going to skip a couple of things on the run sheet because we're running out of time. I don't want this to be too longer than 45 minutes. So let's just skip forward into Australian football chat. 2 semi-finals happened over the weekend. The first leg of those, I went to the Victory versus Wellington game. I'll speak on that one first, as there's dogs barking next door. I don't know if that's being picked up on the mic. But 0-0, Victory versus Wellington. Interesting game. I think Victory dominated. I mean, the stats say 56% possession to 44, 20 shots to 6. 20 shots to 6. XG in Victory's favour. The lineup that Victory played was relatively rotated. If you look at players who don't normally start, Valadon doesn't normally start, Bonavasi doesn't normally start, Khalifi doesn't normally start. There's 3 players in the centre in crucial positions who don't normally start. In saying that, I thought they all played very well. I thought Bonavasi provided some energy. Valadon was very good. Khalifi provided something. The cavalry arrived with Brima Azani. With Brima and Arzani who came on. So, yeah, there's that. I think it's a great result for Wellington. They're going to go home, fresh slate. They've beaten us there twice already this season. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very hard for Victory to win, especially without Marchach. But the fact that they've rested Arzani, Brima, these players for this game gives me a little bit of hope that they're going to be fresh, they're going to be fit, and they can come out and start firing. Quickly, Victory have not won a game since that derby win in April, which is very interesting. So there's that. And then there's the first leg that happened on Friday night. Central Coast beat Sydney 2-1. That ties over. Sydney, 2 red cards to two players who two players who started on the weekend in Corey Holman and Jack Rodwell. That means the tie's all but over. 2-1 away from home. I struggle very much to see where, like right now, if you're talking putting your house on it and stuff, Central Coast should beat Sydney. Everything is in their favour. Sydney had 2 starting players sent off. They've got the 2-1 lead going into their home leg. They've been very good at home all season, Central Coast. So they should be able to get it done, you'd expect. On the other side of things, Victory, Wellington, 0-0. It's probably the more even of the 2 matchups, both in terms of scoreline and in terms of the teams. Wellington beaten Victory in Wellington twice so far this season. Or sorry, they've drawn and then won one. So they're undefeated against Victory at home. Victory without one of their best players. Zavada comes off the bench, so we don't know whether or not he'll be fully fit. He'll be fit to fully start the game on the weekend. As much as it pains me, my head says it's got to be a Central Coast Wellington grand final, but also my heart, I think Victory can do it. If any team's going to do it against the odds, it's a Tony Popovich anti-football Melbourne Victory counter-attack. That's probably what it's going to be, and it's going to break hearts. And I really hope it happens, but you just never know. You just never know. It could happen, and it would be insane if it did. But yeah, head says Central Coast Wellington, heart says Central Coast Victory. I don't say Sydney winning. And now that I've said that, watch them go and win. But there you go. They're just my 2 cents. That's just my 2 cents on that. Yeah, I don't think there's much more. I don't think there's much else to say in regards to that. I think that's done for this week. If we're taking a preview of the game of the games that are happening in midweek, like I said, Villa should win. Villa should beat Liverpool. City should beat Tottenham. Well, that's going to be quite funny. I would love if Chelsea could win, and I think Newcastle should win that, and then we go to final day. So I'll be back next week previewing A-League Grand Finals, reviewing final day stuff, and then giving a future of what I'm going to do for this podcast in the future. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching another episode of the 2 Foot Attacker podcast. I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode. If you have, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, notification bell, all the socials would mean more than the world. All relevant links are in the description of YouTube. Make sure you stick around for next week. Thank you all for tuning in and for sticking around if you have. Stay well, stay safe. See you guys next time. Goodbye.